Appalachia is the part of eastern Kentucky where the towns are small and folks look out for each other. There's a lot of respect for law enforcement and the justice system. And folks who work in that system get to know each other very well. Such was the case for the local sheriff, Mickey Steins, and his friend, District Judge Kevin Mullins. But like any place, sometimes there is controversy. In Letcher County, it was a deputy who got caught sexually assaulting female inmates inside the judge's chambers. That deputy was the bailiff of Judge Kevin Mullins and worked under Sheriff Mickey Steins. That was a couple of years ago. But now everyone's taking another look at that case because something else happened in the judge's chambers. The judge was shot and killed. And Sheriff Mickey Steins is the one being charged with the first-degree murder of a public official. And almost everything that happened that day was caught on camera, both inside and outside the courthouse. And the case is now moving forward towards trial.
Was it just Deputy Fields, or were there others involved in this scandal?
In that particular lawsuit, the only person who was named as an actor, to my understanding, again, I wasn't involved as an attorney in that civil suit, but it's my understanding Ben Fields was the only one named in that particular case. However, there is this audio where other people's names were mentioned and referenced there.
So tell me, and I think we've been kind of talking about this throughout because it's obviously a significant part of everything that happened here. The illegal activity in the judge's chambers, this sextortion, I call it, right? Extortion for sex. Is it related to the shooting?
Well, I think one of the big focal points for this particular case, and we've said this before, is the deposition. The deposition that that Mickey was giving in that particular case was scheduled for Monday, and this happened on a Thursday. So just a few days prior was this deposition, and I think in the week prior to and the week of the deposition, lots of people noticed that Mickey had become more increasingly paranoid, that he became sleepless, had gone nights without sleep, and there was an overwhelming amount of pressure on him, some internal, but we believe there were external pressures as well, because there were a lot of things that happened within these chambers that during a deposition could be potentially fair game for questions. And not only at that deposition, but if the civil case continued, then in further discovery in that case. And I think there was a lot of interest by those people who populated the judge's chambers for whatever reason, about what Mickey might say in those depositions. And I think that is certainly going to be a focal point of this trial.
So I'm trying to make sure I understand this correctly, that there's things that Mickey Steins knew about that could be potentially harmful to people's professions, reputations, perhaps their wallet, their freedom, that he knew about things that were taking place in the judge's chambers?
Well, I think that it would be highly unusual for someone who spent a significant amount of time around the courthouse to not observe things that that should not have occurred. And I think again, if you listen to Sabrina Atkins' interview, she mentions later on in that interview that she had fear for even given the statement that she was making, and she expressed concern during that interview. So there were a lot of people that were, that were sweating around the collar about what he might say there. And I think this pressure came crashing down on Mickey. And I think that it was an overwhelming amount of pressure. And I think there was there was an objective threat to him based upon what he might say or not say, or might have already said or not said during the deposition. And I think you compound that with the fact that there is a mental health issue as well. And I think that what you see in the chambers in that video is a result of a combination of those factors.
But you saw the video of the judge. Any other videos that you actually saw?
No. They say that the Sheriff Mickey Steins is involved. I don't know.
Who said that?
Chad. He said he had videos with Mickey. And Mickey used to do the same thing when he was over house arrest.
So, Jeremy, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to that, because we've heard this. Mickey Steins, was he involved in any of this?
I've not seen any evidence of that. I've not seen anyone that has produced a tape of either my client, and candidly, nor the video that they reference concerning the judge. I've not seen any evidence that supports those allegations against my client.
Let me ask you about this trial when it happens, right? How much of the trial will be about this sextortion scandal versus the shooting of the judge? How do you see that, coming out in court in front of the jury?
Well, at this point, I don't really want to get into some of our trial strategy as far as how that might play out. But I will say that it would be difficult to understand Mickey Steins, his mental status at the time this occurred without understanding the background in the days prior and in the weeks and months prior. I think that they're going to be difficult to be, removed from one another. I think they're intertwined, and I think that, they are relevant to the case at hand.
Is there a chance that this can be worked out in any way without a trial?
Well, ultimately, I think that any attorney worth their salt would explore every option with their client, should that be the case. I will say that, that would ultimately be the client's decision. We believe that you advise of the offer, and we believe the rules require that we communicate that. But I will say we feel very strongly in our mental health defense, as well as the evidence, I think, supports our theory of the case, and I believe that we have a strong case to put in front of the jury. But to say would we entertain that? I think certainly you have to. The rules require that you entertain an offer of settlement, but none of those discussions have taken place, and that's within the purview of the prosecutor, and we've not heard anything in that regard.
Mental illness is real. People go through hard things that we don't know what they're going through. Bottom line, one of my best, closest, dearest friends, Judge Mullins, was killed yesterday, and one of my best, closest friends, Sheriff Mickey Steins, is locked up and charged with murder. The motive and everything will come out, and everyone will eventually know.
Letcher County is a small community, particularly each town. Whitesburg is a small community unto itself. Fleming Neon is a town there where my client was, from. And I grew up in the adjacent county, probably about 7 to 10 minutes from this community. And one of the things I can say is that there is you won't find any better people in terms of people supporting one another. being cordial with one another, and everyone knows everyone. And so, to describe the history between Mickey and the late Judge, I do not believe that they were close social friends. I think that Mickey had a really good relationship with the prior judge who was on the bench when he was bailiff, and I believe that there were certain things that the prior judge did that Mickey was more comfortable with than when Judge Mullins took the bench. In terms of their closeness, I'm sure they had mutual friends, and they spoke. They may have been at a social event together, but I'd be surprised to know if Judge Mullins even supported him in his campaign for sheriff. So I don't think they were as close as one might think. But in a small town, everyone knows everyone.